Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Paulie Rojas. Welcome, Paulie.
Hi, Cassie. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I am so excited to catch up with you. It has been a little while, right? Pre-New Year,
Yes.
You were getting ready to go on a trip. We were talking about trust. So tell me what's awesome right now.
Oh, man. So, of course, I always make my list before I get on any kind of chat with you. So a lot of things are awesome. I just got news that one of my Indian family, he's not actually related to me. He's my
Chosen.
brother-in-law who chosen. Yeah. He is getting married. So
Aww.
and my boyfriend Luke and I are always talking about reasons to go back to India. And so now he's going to get married in November in India. So there's another potential trip to India.
Awesome.
We're always talking about when we're going to go. So now that's happening. And then I was invited back to do more intimate and bigger scoped sessions with UNICEF. So that is, really, I'm so grateful how they're so open to me and they want to. I asked them, do I have any limitations? They're like, shoot us over any and all ideas you have, and we'll figure out how to spin it so that we can get as many people involved. And I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yay.
So I'm really, really grateful for that. And then, of course, my growing friendship with Emma Hepburn, which is beyond anything I could have ever imagined, because I think I told you this, but I had scripted and I had wanted more great girlfriends that are aligned with my sense of purpose and that are international, that maybe speak a couple of languages. And Emma speaks 4, and she volunteers at Rikers Island with the women inmates, and she's a part of UNICEF, and she's so smart, she's so funny and so personal. I'm like, oh, and she's also Audrey Hepburn's granddaughter, which is what? How is this happening? So a lot of really, really fun stuff has happened in our friendship. So
that's awesome. And I love that. It's so fun when your friends start to show up, because I think you practice in the Enchanted Circle having a space where people are doing amazing things and they're celebrating each other's success and being awesome and all of that. And then it's so fun when it starts happening in real life, where it's you can just call up and be like, hey, meet me, let's go out, or let's talk, or let's do this, right?
Exactly. And I remember early on talking to you about, oh my God, do I email her? I want to be friends with Audrey Hepburn's granddaughter. And you're like, no. This isn't about being friends because she's Audrey Hepburn's granddaughter. It's because you guys are aligned in who you are. And it's only about the love and the friendship, nothing more. And that was always my purest intention. But in the back of my head, I knew, oh my God, that is Audrey's granddaughter. But to just acknowledge that and move forward with the pure intention has been so guiding and incredible for me.
That's awesome.
And I think the reason why we actually do have this incredible rapport, and I feel like, you always say this, but it's I don't have to do any of the chasing. Those people find you. And I do feel that between Emma and I, we've found a very neat and unique friendship.
Yeah,
it's not just one-sided. So,
I love that. I think it's a Rumi quote, what you seek is seeking you. And and so when we sit back and we realize that what I want is also what wants me, whether it's friendship or relationship or money or whatever it is, it's magic when we sit back and we allow that to happen. And this is probably one of the first big times in your life you sort of sat back and allowed that and had that what I seek is seeking me experience.
Right. And waking up to her texting hey, do you, Luke, and Jim and I want to get Vietnamese food? I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I love she has a dog, and now she's asked me if I could watch her dog while she's away. And I'm like, absolutely. And yeah, we gifted her a dog bed and she was so gracious about it. So it's just a really lovely, simple, easy friendship.
I love it. Yay.
Yay. So thanks, Kathy, for that.
You are welcome. I love hearing that. You also did your one woman play that you were discussing on the last interview. So tell us all about how that felt. Actually, I want to back up to before you left, because you had a trip planned for Vietnam. You were prepping for the role. And I remember getting this message from you, like, it's not awesome. I don't think I'm awesome. And it's like, should I cancel? Should I not? And so I want to talk a little bit. I want you to talk a little bit about that and tell that story.
Oh, yes. It has a happy ending. Thank God.
As you would.
as you knew. And then I came to learn that. I had gotten the show I booked it in July, and then I started rehearsals in August. So I had a good solid 5 months of rehearsal. I was feeling my future self, very, very confident, and with that confidence came a lot of like taking a lot of risks with the part, which is not normal, because normally I would play it safe to fit in, but this time I was feeling so good. I'm like, oh yeah, who cares? Everything's going to work out anyways. So I would take a lot of risks with the character that ended up working, because of the confidence, this newfound beingness, and so what's funny is that I started relying too much on that, and I had an invited dress rehearsal. I had this trip to Asia scheduled for almost a month, and then so I go for a month. I would come back on the 2nd, tech rehearsal on the 3rd, and then open on the 4th. So it was like no time, and jet lag and everything was all in the ether. But right before leaving, I had a dress rehearsal, an invited dress rehearsal. So I invited a couple of friends that I really trust, that have known me as an artist, and always give really great feedback. So they came and saw it, and one had to leave right away, but was like, I have notes. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm sure he just wants to praise me or whatever. And then I went out with my other friend who came to see it, and he said, oh my God, wow, Paulie, you learned a lot of lines, which is always like like
actor code for that's what I'm going to tell you did well.
Right, exactly. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I was so moved, or wow, what a story. It was like, how did you learn so many lines? And this is coming from like a fellow actor, so I'm like, I know you know this answer. Like, I felt like he just didn't know what to say. So then that's when a little bit of panic set in, or a lot of panic. And then I got the video of the performance, and it was just not what I was like, oh my God. And I was leaving, I think, the next day to Asia, and then coming back to open the show. And so, a lot of, thank God, so many of the people that had, like, first the writer and the many of the people that helped me with this role, the performance director, choreographer, got on the phone with me for like 2 hours and gave me all her notes, and like, you're not grounded, I just don't believe it, you can't go on, your face is down, no one's gonna, we know you're an amateur because we don't see your face. She's just very, very New York. And I'm like, oh no, I can't. That's when I was like, Cassie, what am I gonna, I can't invite people to this. And you're like, just trust, like, what would your future self say? And I was like, okay, well, she would stay calm and do the work while she was away. And that's exactly what I did. And it was such a blessing to have this panic, quote unquote, this failure of mine in front of two of these friends that I really admire and respect, because the entire time in Asia, I was, so my friend who had notes also got on the phone with me for about 2 hours and gave me all of his notes. And everyone's notes was to personalize the story, to not just show the story, but to really, like, what did it really mean to go through everything I would have to go through, which is a very obvious thing for an actor, but I got super, super cocky. So while I was in Asia, all I did was visualize myself, like, just in the words and the language of this character, while I was completely detached from it, like in a 12 hours differences away from New York City.
Right.
And that's when I really felt the story play me. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's when it's like I had all this space, and I invited her into me, And then she came alive in me. But I had to be like, I stepped away from rehearsal. I still like rehearsed in my mind and visualized and scripted, but it was like she came to me again, like I was found.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I was scripting like crazy and visualizing and just feeling it and being in the beingness.
Yes.
And it was incredible. I came back and I was so like I knew that jet lag was going to happen. I knew that like I'd taken month-long trips before where I came back and completely lost my voice. And I'd been in bed like for a week straight because it was such a crazy travel adventure. And none of that happened. I felt so arrested and excited. And I just knew like it was going to be okay. It's like I let go of the reins and let the part play me. And it was such an incredible journey. And I learned so much about like the letting go part.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like this dance between me meeting her, and when I say her, it's Mozart's sister, where she needed me to meet her. I don't know, that's like
Yes. It
crazy
totally
actor
makes
talk.
sense. No.
Yeah. And then she was like, she let herself in a sense. So yeah, and it was a really, really awesome experience. And the greatest reward for me was my brother, who has seen everything I've done, like the horrible musical theater. I'm not a singer and I did musical theater in high school. And like he's seen awful stuff, and then he came to see the show and said that this was the best thing he's ever seen me do. And it meant so much because he's known what I've done and he's seen some really incredible theater, and to say that meant a lot.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I love it. And I love the process. And so often, I just love this example because it's LOA. It's how you do it, right? Like your initial state was like, oh my gosh, should I panic? And you were panicked and work really, really hard and really force this. And you can tell me, but I don't think if you had stayed and tried to work or fix it,
muscle through it,
right, muscle through it, that you would have had the outcome that you did.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I even did think, oh, maybe I should cancel the trip and just rehearse every day. And I think I would have forced it. It would have been like too many opinions in one. And when I was away from Asia, no one gave me there was no one there. It was just me and what I had researched, and all the rehearsal was already in me. It was just like as if like I had watered it all this time. And then like I gave it the space for it to blossom without me having to do anything. So yeah, it was just a really cool really fulfilling process in the end. And yeah.
I love that. And it's so beautiful when you're describing it right now. And I just had this vision of you doing this interview 5 years from now with, a magazine and somebody asking you like, how do you get into a role? And you're like, I water it and then I step away and I let it grow. And that's something I learned in my first, one woman show. Like I see how this plays out in your future self, which is super fun.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. It was also really neat because in Asia, I chose not to go with like a SIM card because I love being completely disconnected.
Yes.
I love that. And so I would have very limited Wi-Fi time. And I actually maximized that because I would go on YouTube or on Instagram is amazing in so many ways. It's detrimental, but I love the way I use it because you can do so much research. It's so accessible. So I was looking at all these female piano virtuosos and the way that their relationship with the piano, and so having this limited Wi-Fi time, putting it to like just research and observation mode, I think just transformed so much, rather than like having everything accessible all the time here in New York.
Right. And almost overdo it. Like you think you would have overdone it.
Yes. Right? Yeah. And I think I really was overdoing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I just love that you trusted that. And I even love because I think for me that showed the growth. You were like, you didn't come and say, should I go or should I stay? You're like, I made the decision. I'm going to trust it and I'm going to go, which was awesome.
Yeah. And thank you. I feel like if I stayed, I would have resented staying, and maybe that would have turned into some like pathos against the character. I don't know.
Oh,
Something.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think you've been practicing for that moment, right? I think I often see in you guys how, the months before, like learning to trust and learning to let go is all practice for that big moment of letting go, and this big aha of, oh, this is a great way to get into the character, to water it and then give it space.
Yeah, and not like choke her into giving me her secrets,
Right? Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're like, I'm right here whenever you want to talk,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. And I totally get it from writing fiction, because that's very much like
Oh,
the
sure.
way. It's like being in an open, and I'm like, I've had characters where I know what their story is, and then I've had the side characters, but I know who they play in the main character's world, but I don't know their backstory until it shows up, and I'm like, and I just follow it. Like you said, it's like when you're invited in to see it, and here it is. So I totally get that.
I love that. Yeah, I love hearing that.
Yeah. I love it. So we're going to keep talking about the play, and I want to talk about, because there was, in addition to learning this play, there was this, I want it to be big, which I agree, like this is a story that should be told. And it makes me so excited every time you talk about it, because this woman's story is getting told in part because you are loving her, and you are showing her, showing the world her, and showing her to the world, and vice versa. And so there was a lot of conversations that we had about how to get the right people in the room. And so I think that in the beginning, it was sort of this worst, oh my gosh, I have to make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, and then the transition.
Well, I think the creator, Sylvia, who's a genius, she is a one-man band. She is the creator, the writer, the original actress, the producer, the marketer, she is everything, the administrator. And so it's a lot to do. And I felt like from the very beginning, I knew I had to balance like what to listen to and what to just put on the back burner, because I have a story of people pleasing and wanting to like fix everything. So with your help, Cassie, I knew to only listen to what actually mattered, which was the story and the character. And all, like with the union and the non-union, like everything would work itself out. There were so many back and forth, so many questions that it was frustrating, but the bigger picture was playing the character. So then the same thing happened when she was like, hey, before you leave, how I need a detailed plan of how you're going to market the show, because we don't know how many people are coming. People have already seen the show for 6 years, and we don't know who's going to want to come see it again. So please send me like a marketing plan, a detailed marketing plan by, X amount of time. And I was like, that's like, I'm not a marketer, I don't
Right.
I know people, but like I don't think like my mom can't make it, so like,
so I definitely am not filling that seat. I feel like the thought that goes through, right? Like, that's a big deal.
Right. Like, my mom would double the audience just with her presence, So then you were like, okay, well, how many people would it take to see the show and then like could, potentially. So we were talking about marketing and like filling the seats with people, and me and the writer having this dream of taking this show to bigger places like off-Broadway and Broadway. And I'm freaking out because I don't, like, no one's bought tickets. And you're like, well, how many people does it take? How many yeses do you need for someone to see it and to be able to take it somewhere big? And I was like, oh, just one person. And you're like, just trust that whoever needs to see the show will see the show and will be there. It only has to be one person. And that lifted the boulder off of me, because it's true. It's all you need is one single yes. And people say it throughout history. It just takes that one yes, right? And so I trusted that. I just emailed people that I had a connection with, that I admired, or that, I had worked with, people that I respected. I emailed everyone, and that was it. I didn't get like, not everyone, of course, was like, yeah, we're coming, but there were a few very enthusiastic people that right away said yes, and people that I'd never expected. And in the audience, of course, the last closing night was a friend of a friend or the wife of a friend, who came and saw the show and fell in love with it, and now is wanting to connect me to all these Broadway producers that have, amongst them like 30 Tonys. And so what you said is totally true. It just took that one person that I didn't even know to come and fall in love with the show. So it's again practicing that trust and the patience and the letting go.
Yes.
We're in the throes of figuring that out, but I trust it more than ever.
Yeah. And every step you learn it more, because our tendency is, okay, I have to, and often we don't realize it. And I think this is true for you too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't realize when we're trying to force the how, but it was like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out how to get all these producers in the room.
Right.
How do I talk to them? How do I right? And really, and that puts us in the chase mode.
Mm-hmm.
And we're chasing and we're controlling the how. And we sit back and we really get clear about what's our intention. Just, I want it to go to Broadway or off Broadway. I want it to be seen. And I know the right person will show up. It's just a whole different energy. And then I loved it because it wasn't somebody you could have tried to figure out how to get in the room.
No, I would have never known. And this friend of mine, like, I can't even remember how I know him. And why he said yes, but he was, I think, probably the first person to respond and say, yep, I'm coming. I'm like, oh, great. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Wow. What a great addition to the story, right?
Yeah.
He was there all along. Like he was always in. Oh, I love that. The first person. And he was there. So after the play, we would go to this little Austrian restaurant called Freud's, which I love. And he was there, and his wife was there, and he was like, this is Ulrika, meet Paulie. And she loved, and she was like, who do you want to meet? And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And she keeps reaching out saying, I'm working on the connections, and really, really believes in me and in the show. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not worried, because whatever pans out from this, I have this really cemented faith and trust that is pretty unwavering at this point. Mm-hmm. So I keep coming back to, and that's why it's so great to come back to the weekly calls of affirming, like, everything is right here for us. This might be the step to the next breakout role. This, we don't know. Maybe this is what it is. But in the meantime, I'm just going to relax and enjoy it and be so grateful that it happened, because even how the play happened was not something I at all pursued. So. Right. Oh, which I love. And you reminded me saying, coming to the calls, like, you got huge evidence in there, right? I mean, like, just in the group, there's people who live in a small town and have a big time producer that live.
Right.
There's like somebody who knows somebody randomly, like pretty close, not even far, like one step away, that lives nowhere near New York, right? And invests money in plays, which is like, it's all right there.
It's all right there. Yeah. And I tell myself that all the time. You're in my heart and in my head, Cassie. All the time.
It. Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. So what would you say that the trust is the biggest change that you've seen since?
Oh my God. Yes, trust, but also patience.
Oh yes. Say more about that. I mean,
because I want it now, or I want it yesterday,
Right.
But I know that I have made decisions that were not like to get quick money, or to just please, or just to, because I'm impatient. That has not been good for me, or has maybe not hurt people, but just didn't feel good. And ultimately that hurts me and the people that are around me. So I know, like, for example, I could jump into doing little student films or acting in things I don't want to do, or helping out, like, holding a boom when I really want to be acting, which there's nothing wrong with it. But I know I would just doing it because I want to force something to happen. And now I could just, be home and read and do things that I really love. Like, I really want to get proficient in Italian. So I can study Italian at home versus like forcing myself to do something I don't want to do, or like going out and pursuing jobs that I don't want to do, because I've been able to have, a comfortable savings where I don't have to do that. I've given myself the opportunity not to have to chase anything.
I love that, because I want to say this for the listeners. It sounds like, oh, you just decided like I'm going to give myself this gift.
Mm-hmm.
That came with work too, right? It
Oh,
came
yeah.
coming and saying, hey, I'm freaking out about this. I have X amount of money. Like, and us really looking at all the factors and saying, step into your future self, step into your future self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because you say this all the time, and I love what you said. I think it was last week about inspired action is the thing that you can't not do. Wait,
Mm-hmm.
is that too many knots? It's the thing that you, like, it won't go away.
Right.
You know, you have to do that. And so I have a million ideas in my head, like, oh, I'm going to write this short film. Oh, I'm going to shoot in Italy. Oh, I'm going to do that. And then I know now, I'm wiser now, because if it doesn't keep like sounding really good, I know it's just me being impatient.
Yay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I do trust like something. And what I love is like the inspiration is going to be taking a walk and making a left instead of a right. It's not going to be like hunting down Steven Spielberg's email. It's
Right.
just going to be like easy and graceful. And wouldn't it be cool if I just went this way instead of that way? Or I feel like getting a cup of coffee from this coffee shop I've never been to. So.
Yes. Oh, I love it because you've so, and even until you said, when you were just talking, I was like, oh, I remember like you wanted to do this big project, like, and
Yeah.
it's only a couple months back, but it feels so far away now, right? Because it was totally controlling the how and
Mm-hmm.
I can fund the money and I can do this and I can like figure this out and all these things, which is super interesting because that's a lot of what you're fielding through now, but in this opportunity that is going to have some huge impact on your career versus trying to do those same things and trying to make it happen, trying to make your role happen. Like now, I just saw the parallel, which is so fun.
Yeah, no. And you're so right. And I feel like the work I'm doing now is not writing my dream role. It's like cultivating the feeling that like, exactly what you said, the Rumi quote, what I'm seeking is seeking me, and knowing that I belong and knowing that it's possible, knowing that I deserve it. Because when I do get that important meeting, I'm not going to go in with like, oh, this is it, this has to be it. It's the, I know this is where I'm supposed to be. I know this is leading to great things. I can be so relaxed and 100% show them who I am, which is exactly what I've always wanted.
Yay! Oh my gosh, it makes me so happy to hear you say that. Like, oh, yes. Yeah, it's awesome. And I think, and I want to, as you navigate, because this happens, and so I want to ask you about it because it's going to help somebody as we grow bigger. We also, I think it naturally happens. We navigate to bigger voices a lot of times that say like, you can't do that. And you've had some of that. And so how has preparing for the moments of having those voices, what are the, do you rely on like trust in LOA? Do you rely on this confidence that I know I'm cultivating, which by the way, like that is the most amazing word for this situation. Like I love the shift of, I don't even remember what you said you were doing before, but cultivating is amazing. Like I literally forgot whatever that, like it was the sentence before. And I don't remember what word to use, but like cultivating is what you're doing because that other sentence doesn't,
Who knows? Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore.
It's so far. Yeah, it's so far in the past because now you are cultivating your life as an act. Like you're cultivating your dream.
Yeah, and I'm cultivating the person I want to be, which is like rooted in possibility and like being ultimately an inspiration for other people by saying I did it and I came from this, so you're so much closer than when I was beginning the work. It just I was going to say something I can't remember, but about cultivating and trusting.
Was it because I had asked you what is it?
Yes.
Against some of those voices, and so what tools or what LOA that we've practiced and learned as you've cultivated this? What are you? How is that helping you?
Well, so much is from the calls with you, and I'm coming up against so much because the most recent one is, oh honey, you don't know what producing is, go take a course. And and then let's talk. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's very valid, but doesn't seem. And also the same person saying, oh honey, it won't go to Broadway because you need to be a star to go to Broadway. I'm like, okay, so of course it hurts in the moment, of course it's not what I want to hear, but I can choose to dwell on it, which my old self would, or it's like, okay, that's information that is not serving me or the greater purpose, so I'm going to turn away from those people until there will be someone that will appear that says, you are the star, how are you not on Broadway, and they will. It's almost like I will appear for them the way they've appeared for me, like we've been looking for each other, and that's of course possible, it's happened before. So I think if I take myself out of that equation, no one's going to put me back in there. I have to make the choice to stay in the equation, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to highlight for listeners, because I got it, but I want them to hear it. So it's a choice to stay in the equation of all these things, of really forcing the house. That's what it comes down to, right? It's like, it's all, we could categorize it as that. Or you can remove yourself from it and know and honor and trust, like what you seek is seeking you.
Right. Exactly. And I didn't come to this on my own. I did bring it to the call. And you said, well, just keep going towards the easy nuggets. It can all be easy. And if there is a resistance, then practice saying no. Like, I was on the call for maybe an hour with these people, getting their advice. And you were like, the sooner you get to the no, like, thank you so much, this is not the fit that either of us are looking for, the closer I will and we will get to the yes. So I very much have taken that to heart. And I know that, I think in terms of self-respect, to say no is so important. And also, yeah, it's always more exciting to get to a yes quicker. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And it is self-respect, but I love that you bring that up, because it's self-respect to say no. And yet when we want something, we often convince ourselves there's a reason not to say no. And so it's so fun watching you be in this place of, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. Next time I'm going to say no when they say, when the first word out of their mouth is not like, you're like, thank you. Like, that we are not a fit.
Yeah, exactly. Let's like shake hands and I wish you the best, and then let's both move forward. And then I also did what you advised, which was I was supposed to meet with another person, and she said, oh yeah, I sent her the material, which wasn't a lot, but something to like know before going into about the who, what, why in the play. And she said, oh yeah, okay, well I'll try to get to it before we meet. And then you said, well, how did that feel? And she said she'll try. I'm like, yeah, it didn't feel good. Didn't feel like I was getting, if I'm going to work with a person, I want it to be that mutual excitement, mutual respect. And so I did email her and said, hey, why don't you take a look at the material? And if this material is exciting to you, let's set up a meeting. And she right away was like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. And yeah, like things are winding down. I'll definitely get to it. Can we please meet next week? I'm like, yep, no problem. So then I didn't have to trek to the city to meet anyone. And I think she was happy about it too.
Oh, and what a beautiful opportunity. Like, maybe she's the one, maybe she's not, but the experience is going to be so much better regardless.
Right. Because now she knows, like, we're not here to waste each other's time.
Right.
And if this is a venture that we're both excited about, it's going to work out that much better.
Yes.
Because it's been confirmed. Yeah. So we'll see. I will, of course, keep you posted every step of the way.
Yes. Oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
So this has been amazing, and so many nuggets for those of you listening who are wanting to apply the law of attraction and wanting to believe that you can get better. Because it's sometimes in Paulie, I think you had this experience, like you wanted it so fast. Like, but I've been doing all of this work, and you had like piles of work you've been doing. I want this stuff to happen, and just as I want people to take away from your interview is, it's it's building, like you're building the trust. You're to be that person. You're cultivating that future and the beingness that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting for me, is I feel this and it's constant, it's like whisper, like you say, that like nothing is, well, nothing unquote, but like nothing has happened yet because I'm I'm about to be the person I have to be when everything's gonna happen. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like I almost feel like this like magic thing around me is like preparing me to be the person I have to be so that I can take it all on when it comes.
100% makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because if it had hit when you were like doing all the millions of things before you had been prepared,
Right.
it would have like, it's what probably would have been more like a one-hit wonder, right?
Yeah, or I would have gotten eaten alive, like being
Yes.
the most sensitive person on the planet. Like, and I feel like now I'm meant to keep my sensibilities and my sensitivity, but also have this like business savvy and emotional intelligence and everything else on top. And I'm, as soon as like I feel maybe the universe is like, yes, there you are, here you go. I feel like it's going to be something like that. And we'll see how it happens. But I get this sense all the time.
Oh, trust that, because that's 100% what it is. And now you can see how you needed to be this person. And so, and I love that you're not even like, you're not even searching for like, what's the other thing I need? You're like, no, I'm walking the path.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I have everything I need, it will show up.
Yeah.
And I am who I need to be.
Right. And it's super slow and steady. That's what it feels like. And then I feel like it's going to be this avalanche.
Yes.
And I don't know what it's going to be, but I know so deep in my heart that it's like the purpose or the destiny that it's meant to happen.
Oh, yes. And you've just been stepping into that.
Yes. And like, I really feel I found you almost a year ago, exactly when I needed to find you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. It's so fun. I love it. It has, yeah, happy almost 1 year anniversary.
Yeah. Yes, we'll have to celebrate.
We do. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Any advice for somebody who feels like they want it right now? Who's that person that you were a year ago? Ooh, let's ask it like this. What would you tell that person a year ago? Who would you tell yourself?
Say well, I think the thing I would want to hear the most is, yes, of course it's happening. Like, don't worry, it's 100% happening. And then I'd go, oh, okay. I just like go frolic in the park. So 100% it's happening. And that you are meant to live everything you've ever desired, and it'll be better than you think. And that I would say I'm so happy that you took this step. I'm so happy that you did that. You should be really proud of yourself. And I would say keep showing up to class or to the course. Keep doing the exercises. Keep cultivating the characteristics of the beingness. Keep doing that, and don't worry about anything else. Because I would say a year ago, don't worry, this amazing play is going to fall into your lap and it's going to be a really cool thing. But yeah, I would just say, yes, it's all happening. Don't do anything.
I love it. I love it so much, because that was one of the first assignments I ever gave you. Like, stop doing all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is super fun. And if you are listening and you haven't heard that interview, definitely go back and hear the beginning of this journey, because it's awesome. How far has come in a year? So thank you so much for joining us today. I want you to, if somebody knows like they can hear and they are what's seeking you, how do they find you?
Oh, good question. You can go to actually, I don't even know if I have a website, but I can give you my email. And that is Paulie, like my name, Paulie, and then tra@gmail.com. Paulie Tra.
Love it. So if you have been seeking Paulie and she's seeking you, connect with her. Thank you so much, Paulie, for joining today on the show and sharing your beautiful, beautiful story.
Oh, thank you so much for everything that you do, Cassie.
You are welcome. And thank you all for listening, and have a fabulous rest of your day.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.